Rainy days don't seem so wet. Stormy nights don't stay. From the moment that we met, you were worth the wait. Oh, this could be the best thing that I'll ever know. Best thing that I'll ever know.
Hello, hello, hello. So, that noise you're hearing in the background is the compressor of my refrigerator. It decided to go out today. But I guess the Lord was there saying, I know this is going to happen because he had an unscheduled stop for my husband to come home and shower, and he doesn't have to leave again till tomorrow afternoon. And my Maud and her husband are coming up from where they live. They're on their way up here, and I have a brand new refrigerator sitting in storage, and my husband and my Maud and me and her husband and maybe CJ in the morning are all going to go get the refrigerator out of the storage and bring it in and put it in my kitchen. I give my brand new refrigerator. Finally, I get my refrigerator. Been waiting since 22. It's been sitting in storage. It's 2022. Brand new refrigerator sitting in storage. It's a stainless steel side-by-side with ice maker and everything. That's the compressor on my black side-by-side. You can see it right there, that black thing right there. That's my refrigerator making that noise. Okay, so there's an unlock. I got something funny to show you before I get started. All right, let me pull it up on stage. This is me going from my basement, from my upstairs to my basement every day. Isn't that funny? I think I might save that for well, I can't play it every time people pop out of chat because I'd be playing it through my whole life. Thank you for whoever is in chat right now. Please hit the thumbs up. I don't think my Maud's going to be able to be on because she is en route from her state to my state. So let me pull up the... There's our fair use disclaimer. And I heard my husband come in the door. And we're under copyright laws, Section 107 U.S. Congress Act of the United States. We are covered. All right. Take that down. Take that down. Okay. So, an unalived plot against paranormal star from Ghost Adventures, Aaron Goodwin. Let's listen to this sinister plot. I forgot to give credit for this one. I thought it was Law and Crime, but it's Inside Edition. Smack. Okay, I'll do credit. I'm going to go unplug my refrigerator. It's driving me nuts. Hold, please. Much better. Much, much better. I gave the link is right, but I didn't give the right name in my credits down below. Okay, so full credit to Inside Edition from YouTube. Okay, President Spring. This is new details are emerging about what cops say is a unaliving for hire plot to unalive TV Ghostbuster. Victoria Goodwin was charged with the attempted to hire a hitman to redrum her husband. Aaron Goodwin and his team investigate haunted houses on a TV show called Ghost Adventures, according to the police. Okay, let me bring this up full screen.
We're learning chilling new details about what cops say is a murder for hire plot to kill a TV Ghostbuster. Victoria Goodwin appeared in court in Las Vegas, charged with attempting to hire a hitman to do away with her husband.
Honestly, it felt like this black mass just hit me.
Aaron Goodwin.
That must have been what it felt like when he got the phone call that that's what she was planning. That's what I think. Oh, I got to put music on. I'm sorry. All right, we are going to the valley. All right.
And his team investigate haunted houses on the Discovery Plus TV show Ghost Adventures.
I'm scared to walk forward. I'm scared to go up the steps.
According to police, what his wife planned was a lot scarier. 32-year-old Victoria is said to have reached out to a convicted killer named Grant Amato, who's behind bars for an unspeakable crime.
You've been found guilty for killing your mother, your father, and your brother. Life imprisonment without any possibility of parole.
Amato's brutal murders in 2019 has inspired the Paramount Plus documentary series Control Alt Desire. Victoria reportedly began writing him after seeing his story. She's accused of hiring him to arrange the hit, offering to pay $11,000. I'm so anxious. Am I a bad person because I choose to end his existence, not divorce? She
yes.
allegedly text. According to court papers, Amato arranged for a buddy to carry out the hit on Aaron Goodwin while he was filming Ghost Adventures in Barstow, California. He's asleep right now in the hotel room, Amato texted the alleged hitman. Can I get an update? Was it done? Court papers say Victoria also texted a photo of her husband and details of his schedule. No actual attempt to kill Aaron Goodwin took place. When his wife was arrested, she tried to explain the text to police by saying she was just fantasizing.
It's cool.
That's just crazy. Hello to the second person in chat. Please, if you don't mind, hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to help get my channel's algorithms out there. Well, if you want to leave, okay. Thank you for coming in for a minute.
You got to check it out. It's awesome.
So many cool things to see.
Everything appeared normal when they vacationed in Hawaii in December. Friends say he is blindsided by the allegations.
Victoria Goodwin has pleaded not guilty to charges of soliciting and conspiring to commit murder.
Okay. So she's... Hi there. Are you looking at me? Looking at me?
Yep. Real quick.
Real quick. Oh, that's a good picture. Oh, there's my boy. The Joker. That's where his food bowl's at now, so it stays dry out of the rain.
taken on the fence over here, looking through the fence.
Uh-huh.
And you know where the doghouse is at, clear on the other side of the.
Yeah, that's clear down by the retaining wall. Wow. Now, is this what they're talking about, noise?
No, that's just the color.
Okay.
No, like the view noise.
Didn't you get close enough up his nose? You trying to count the hairs on his body?
No, I'm trying to show you what noise is. See how
Hold, please.
that's like that?
Uh-huh.
How it's not like really smooth?
Uh-huh.
That's noise.
Oh.
So, like you can get a better idea of it.
Look at that eye. Look at that eye.
But look at his eye. You know how his eye is supposed to be smooth and clear? See how that's kind of granulated?
Uh-huh.
That's noise.
I'd like to have that picture.
I'm sure you would.
Well, send it to me. Those are nice pictures. Thank you for showing me. All right, y'all. That was my husband.
Playing with his new lens.
He got a new lens. It's the size freaking. It's bigger than his drink glass. I call it a thermos. Okay. Okay. So next we're going to go to Law and Crime Sidebar, and with Jesse Weber. You know what? There was a Jesse Weber that lived next door to me when I was growing up. And he's about this person's age, and this person's been here since 2019. Okay. Pull it up. Okay, it says ghost hunter makes big move in wife's alleged red rum for hire case.
Charged with plotting to have him killed. An apparent murder for hire request has decided to divorce his wife because police say she's the one behind the alleged plot. Star of Ghost Adventures, Aaron Goodwin, is now dealing with his own nightmare. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. So I can't say I'm terribly surprised by this, but Aaron Goodwin, the star on Ghost Adventures on Discovery Plus, who's dealing with something potentially even scarier than the supernatural. Remember, his wife of several years, Victoria Goodwin, has been charged with plotting to have him killed. Well, now the 48-year-old has filed for divorce. This happened on March 12th, so this is about a week after news broke that 32-year-old Victoria had been arrested. She faces charges of solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder. She's currently locked up in Nevada, where the couple lived, on $100,000 bail. And Us Weekly got a look at these divorce documents, which read, the views, tastes, likes, and dislikes of husband and wife have become incompatible to the extent that it has become impossible for them to live together in marital harmony. There is no possibility of reconciliation. Now, we'll talk about what that means, but according to the legal documents,
Okay. If my wonderful husband made a plot to unalive me, and I found out about it, yeah, I would divorce him and there would be no grounds for reconciliation. But he wouldn't do that. I love my husband. He loves me.
Goodwin filed in Clark County, Nevada. He and Victoria had apparently got married in May of 2020. This was during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, it's not entirely clear if they actually ended up tying the knot then or they waited later on. We saw these photos of this lavish celebration at Disneyland's Haunted Mansion that were posted on social media. But here's what we know. Investigators say just a few short years later, Victoria was allegedly communicating with an infamous inmate. And you may know who this is. We'll talk about it in a second. But the two were allegedly scheming to hire a third party to kill Goodwin. Those are the accusations. Now, to talk about this, I want to bring on friend of the show, Randy Kessler, who is a high-profile family attorney, divorce attorney in the Atlanta area. Randy, it's so good to see you. First, I think the last time I did this, I don't remember if I had a guest. I might have had a guest. I might have done it solo, but I think the people I've spoken to about this, I'm just curious, their initial reaction to a story like this.
Oh, it's like, look, believe it or not, divorce lawyers are human, right? And despite all the stuff we see, this is a shocker. And I thought I've seen it all. Every now and then people joke in our office, God, wouldn't it be easier or cheaper just to kill my spouse? And it's sort of an off the cuff, sort of a Freudian moment where they say, I really hate this person, but never do we see it go this far, except when it's something that law and crime is covering. And those are the extreme cases.
So in other words, you don't usually see murder for hire plots in connection with divorce proceedings?
No, I would say that would be an exception.
Okay, then walk me through this. And let me read it again. What does the views, tastes, likes, and dislikes of husband and wife have become incompatible to the extent that it has become impossible for them to live together in marital harmony? There is no possibility of reconciliation. What does that all mean?
So that's legal terminology or a lawyer sense or lawyer speak for the marriage is broken beyond repair. So in every state in the United States now, as opposed to 50 years ago, you can get a divorce by saying, I can't make my marriage work. It doesn't mean you can't talk about why you got divorced or how that affects property division or custody. But to authorize the judge to grant you a divorce, you have to swear that your marriage is no longer viable, that it's broken beyond repair. And the wording differs in every state. Some states it's irretrievably broken. Some states it's irreconcilable difference. Some states it's, broken beyond repair. So that's what that wording means, is that
when my first husband and I got our divorce and we got it under irreconcilable differences, we were living in two different states. And he filed the divorce. And I just signed the papers and sent it back. I didn't have to have an attorney. It was a no contest divorce. I kept custody of my son. Everything, whatever, So, but that judge made us wait 30 days after our divorce was final before either of us were able to remarry or anything like that. So, and at the 30-day limit, it was crazy. I had already been seeing somebody because I'd been living in Arkansas for over a year, and he'd been living up here in Kansas for over a year. So the day our divorce went final, our 30-day limit, it's crazy. I gave birth to my oldest child, and he and his girlfriend got married. July 8th, 1988. My daughter, who it sounds like is here and shouldn't be here already. No, that's an extra neighbor. Okay. So, my daughter was born at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or about 11:30 in the morning. And at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my ex-husband was getting married to his second wife. So, and they're still married. And Amanda Panda's still my daughter. So, yeah. So, everything worked out. And my ex-husband and his wife and I all get along now. So, we just we couldn't be married. We were young when we got married and got married for the wrong reason. And so, life works out that way. So, now I have a wonderful husband that I've known since I was 7 years old. I should have skipped all the other ones and just married him to start with. Okay.
Judge, regardless of why they're getting divorced, in this petitioner's mind, his marriage is over. Therefore, you are authorized to grant him a divorce. Then you can get into why if you want to.
Well, let me just back that up a second. If she is currently in jail on these charges, what ability does she have to contest the divorce in some way or represent her interests in the divorce?
So she can hire a lawyer and she can contest the divorce. And, it's hard to get somebody on video from jail, especially for a civil case. There's not as many protections. But she may get a stay. We're actually in the middle of a representation of somebody, a high-profile individual whose spouse was detained by ICE. And so they got a brief continuance. But it's not going to last forever. Eventually, the spouse that's not in jail has the right to proceed with their divorce and move forward, and that will ultimately be granted. So she can contest it. And I'll also tell you this, Jesse, there are very few things that you can get unilaterally in a divorce. Very few things that only one side has to say, I want it, and they get it. And one is a divorce. The other one might be your maiden name. If a woman wants to restore her maiden name, the husband can't object to that and say, I don't want that to happen. But if one side wants a divorce, no matter how much the other side pleads and begs and tells the judge, he'll come back to me, change his mind. All they have to do is convince the judge that that person, husband in this case, can't make it work, and that person is then entitled to a divorce.
Okay, so what I'm about to say is totally off topic. I'm giving you that fair warning right now, but there is an issue that is affecting a lot of people out there, and I really didn't even think about it until we partnered up with our new sponsor, Dermazine. I'm talking about dandruff. Most people assume it's just from a dry scalp, but it's actually caused by an overgrowth of fungus. He nor his, strange wife, neither party, be awarded alimony, that both he and Victoria's community assets and debts, I believe he was saying that they would be divided in accordance with Nevada law. And at the same time, he has requested that his own separate assets and debts be determined to be his sole property, his separate property, and that he be awarded reasonable costs and expenses and attorney's fees. Break that down for us and what the likelihood is that he'll succeed in getting that.
Okay. Number one, that's very standard, right? You don't put your settlement offer into your documents that you're sending to the court. You don't say, Judge, I would settle for this or I would take that. You put in there what you want if you can't settle the case. So it's an invisible preamble, so to speak. Judge, in the event we can't settle the case or mediate the case or bring a conclusion outside of court, and we have to appear before you, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. And that's very typical with the statement that you just read to me was, if there's marital property, it gets divided according to law. If there's separate property, meaning I had it before the marriage or I inherited it, someone gave it specifically to me, I want to keep that. And impliedly, she should get to keep hers. That's the starting point. Then when you get to court, you get to argue, but Judge, the cost, like you mentioned, Jesse, she caused this. I wouldn't have gotten a divorce but for her plot to kill me, and I had to file for divorce, and I had to pay a lawyer, and I had to come to court. So if we get that far, Judge, I want you to do everything else that I asked, and I want her to pay my legal costs because she caused this.
Let me ask you a question. She hasn't been convicted, right? But she has been charged. Does the fact that she has been charged in terms of an evidentiary point of view or what he can argue in court, is that sufficient to help his cause in a divorce proceeding or anybody's cause? So like you said, if you have two parties, one of them is arrested and charged or facing charges, can they use that, the simple charges themselves, not even the conviction, the charges themselves in their advantage in a divorce proceeding?
Certainly. I mean, there's two ways. Number one, even though you're innocent until proven guilty, everybody in America, when someone gets arrested, they think maybe he did it, maybe she did it. You can't help it. That's just human nature. So that's the one way. But the more legal way is that there's a difference, right, in standards in the criminal case. In a criminal case, they would have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. I know you discuss this all the time. In a civil case, you just have to have enough to tip the scale. And you have to have enough to tip the scale probably to get her arrested, right? So if someone made the decision to arrest her based on the information they saw, then there's some evidence out there that persuaded that person to do that, meaning that.
Okay. So we know they're getting a divorce. I don't want this live to go nine hours long, especially with nobody in here. So next we're going to go to Ghost Hunter's wife gets big win in murder plot case. Win? Hold on. Hold the sheets. That's what it says. Victoria Goodwin, the Guys and Ghost Adventure star Aaron Goodwin, just got a big win in her murder plot case. Investigators say she communicated with notorious criminal and unaliver Grant Amato to try and get her own husband unalived. Now, a charge against Victoria was just dropped? Okay.
Yes. And you're agreeing to continue this for 2 weeks for possible negotiations?
All right, that's who they will be.
Hatching a murder plot with a convicted killer to kill the host of the hit series Ghost Adventure, what can go wrong? Well, the target of the plot finds out, and then you end up arrested and charged with solicitation and conspiracy to commit murder. I'm Elizabeth Milner with Law and Crime. So that snippet you just heard was from Victoria Goodwin's last hearing in March, and she's been locked up in a Vegas jail since her arrest last month. Now, since then, more dominoes started to fall, like her husband Aaron filed for divorce and sued her, and she's facing charges that could put her in prison for a long time. She appeared in court this week, but surprisingly, prosecutors agreed to drop one of her charges. Last time Victoria Goodwin appeared in court, she agreed to continue her case to a later date, though, while her attorney and prosecutors weighed a negotiation. So this time around, she scored a win. Well, kind of. When she appeared in court on Tuesday, she donned glasses, a braided side ponytail, and still manicured nails despite being in jail for a month. She sat pretty quietly along with other inmates. At times, she whispered with them, but really she sat quietly unless speaking with her lawyer. But what we didn't see is the deal her attorney and prosecutors made, which is agreeing to drop one of her charges. Prosecutors agreed to drop the solicitation to murder charge, but she's not out of the clear. She still faces a charge of conspiracy to commit murder, which still carries years in prison. But remember, Victoria denied even wanting to have her husband killed. For those following the case, you know how we got here. For those who haven't, let's sum it up. Victoria is married to Aaron Goodwin, the host of Ghost Adventures, where you guessed it, the hosts are on an adventure to look for ghosts. But Victoria decided to chat it up with an inmate all the way down in Florida who annihilated his own family. And that inmate was Grant Amato, who killed his mom, his dad, and his brother. Victoria and Grant together allegedly planned to set aside more than $11,000 to kill Aaron. I mean, Grant couldn't do it. He's already serving a life sentence. So they planned to hire a third person. You would think divorce is the better option, right? In the messages between Grant and Victoria, she did question that. Well, first she allegedly messaged Grant, "I'm so anxious, LOLOL." In another message, police say she wrote, "I just can't believe it's happening. Like, how did I get to this point? Am I a bad person?" Grant asked why she thought that, and she allegedly replied, "Because I chose to end his existence, not divorce." Pretty harsh, ending her husband's existence. According to police, Victoria claims she and Grant were just pen pals, which first began in May of last year and ended in November. Now, obviously, we know she wasn't arrested until last month, and that came after a detective and criminal investigator within the Florida DOC called police in Vegas about the murder for hire plot. But let's go back to October, specifically October 3rd. That's the day Grant contacted the alleged hitman and even wrote to this person, "I need to know what is going on. Can I get an update? Was it done?" It obviously wasn't done, and thankfully Aaron is alive and well. Reportedly unaware his wife was plotting to kill him, Aaron and Victoria appeared on social media like a happy and loving couple. Again, Victoria denies she tried to have her husband killed. She claims she was lonely, she and Aaron were going through marital issues, and that she was just daydreaming of being in a different situation. But she says she no longer felt that way. But when you allegedly send money to your killer lover, delete messages where you're plotting to kill, you don't need a law degree to know that charges were coming when investigators call you. I'm joined now by law and crime legal analyst, as well as criminal defense attorney, Julie Rendelman. Julie, great to see you and always love having you on. You know, this story is pretty wild. Victoria's been in jail for more than a month now, but now prosecutors have reportedly agreed to drop one of her charges, that being the solicitation to commit murder.
I'm sorry, I have to cut it off for a couple seconds just for fair use. And also my neighbor's mowing his yard.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think they're headed towards a plea, and it's not uncommon when you're headed towards a plea that the prosecution will agree to pick one of the charges, and then the rest will kind of, in a sense, go to the wayside. And so they're going with this one charge with the understanding that as long as she pleads guilty, as long as she takes responsibility, they will dismiss the other charges.
I want to thank Odoo for sponsoring us. If you don't know Odoo, they're an incredible all-in-one business management software that provides you with a range of applications. They have cool features like their projects app, and look, managing projects can be pretty tough, but with Odoo's project app, it truly doesn't have to be. If you need a clear timeline, the Gantt view maps out your tasks and helps you stay on track. Prefer a more flexible approach? Well, the Kanban view lets you move tasks easily from to-do to done. Or if you like structure, the list view gives you all the details at a glance. Plus, Odoo's comprehensive dashboard keeps you updated on task status, activities, and remaining time, so you're always in control. And with powerful reporting tools, you can track your project's budget, milestones, and profitability in real time. So right now, you can get a free 15-day trial of Odoo's all-in-one business solution and see how it can make your life easier. Scan the QR code on your screen or check it out at our link, odoo.com/LC News Project. And if that's the case, do you see her taking responsibility for what she did?
Well, it sounds like she's going to, and it sounds like the evidence is fairly strong. Obviously, thankfully, no one was hurt, but that doesn't really change the fact that she committed these crimes. But it sounds like, and by the way, it seems clear that the only reason they are going to agree to dismiss is if, in fact, she's pleading guilty.
I'll say, for instance, she just happens to plead not guilty. Do you think prosecutors will still agree to drop that charge? And I do want to ask you, do you think they're kind of weighing that decision, them being prosecutors, possibly because money was never exchanged, instead it was kind of set aside? Do you think that's possibly why they agreed to drop the solicitation charge versus the conspiracy charge?
Sure. The conspiracy charge may be the stronger charge, and it might be easier to prove. Remember, the conspiracy is just kind of the agreement between more than one person, whereas the solicitation is her or someone asking, requesting, pushing someone else to assist in committing a crime.
So assuming that she pleads not guilty, and we're still talking about just possibly pleading not guilty to just one of the charges, as they're still kind of weighing that deal, do you think that prosecutors do have enough to convict on the conspiracy to commit murder charge?
So it's a great question. We know, obviously, that there's conversations that they have. I believe it's texts that they have between the two of them with regards to the fact that they were in love with each other. And that there was discussions about the hiring of an individual to commit this murder. You just need to take steps, in a sense, in order for there to be conspiracy. It doesn't have to be completed. The money actually doesn't have to be exchanged, as long as there are some efforts on the part of those individuals to, in a sense, forward the commission of the crime, which in this case is the murder. And so I do think there's enough at this point. Again, there might be things that the defense and the prosecutor knows that none of us know about at this point.
And as a former prosecutor, do you find murder for hire cases kind of harder to try, in a sense, versus a murder case or a homicide case?
So it's an interesting question because, if you think about it, Elizabeth, there's plenty of times, someone's in a relationship, they're mad at their significant other and they say, I wish he was dead, or, I could kill him right now. And so, it's for the prosecution to distinguish, the kind of silly comments that someone makes.
Okay, they're talking about her court case. Do you want to hear the rest of it? I didn't think so. It's boring to me. All right, let's see what on Scandal through Law and Crime. Let's see what Sierra Gillespie has to say. It says 9 shocking details of Ghost Adventure star redrummed plot.
For hire plot, and this one is spooky. And I'm not talking like, I'm a spooky girl, I love fall weather. Or sweater weather, I love PSLs. No, we're talking spooky like a woman who is accused of seeking the help of a convicted triple murderer to then arrange the murder of her husband, who just so happens to co-star in a show about ghost hunting. I don't know how we get more spooky than that. There's a lot happening here in this case, so let's start with a very basics who's involved. First, there's 32-year-old Victoria Goodwin, who is now charged with solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder. She's out of Nevada. Then there's 35-year-old Grant Amato, and he lives in Florida, specifically the Okeechobee Correctional Institution. That's because he's convicted of murdering his family, his dad, Chad, his mother, Margaret, and his brother, Cody. I'll let the experts explain a bit more about him. Here are some prosecutors from Florida.
But why? What was his motive?
He's my husband.
Why did he kill his family? The answer to
That's
that
found
question
I'm not used to hearing.
lies and will be found across the ocean in Bulgaria and a woman named Sylvie, if that's her real name. The defendant, Aaron Goodwin, became addicted to her, consumed with her, possessed by her, to the point that he was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of the family's money on her. And when his parents found out about his, quote, relationship
Oh, I remember him.
with Sylvie and the tremendous amounts of money
She
he was
was a
spending on her,
1-900 call.
they contacted her and they let her know the lies that he was telling her and who he really was. And that effectively ended his relationship with Sylvie. To Grant Amato, that was the end of the world. There was nothing to live for. And he was furious with his family for ending his world, his life as he believed it to exist.
We've all seen TV shows. There's witnesses, right? Eyewitnesses, people who saw the crime. Well, we had eyewitnesses in this case. Margaret Amato, Chad Amato, Cody. Those were your eyewitnesses. The defendant killed them.
Grant Amato was convicted in all 3 of those murders and sentenced to 3 life in prison terms. Put a pin in this. I promise this little explanation will make sense more in just a minute. But I've got to move on to the next big name in all of this, and it's someone you actually might recognize, Aaron Goodwin. He's a camera operator and paranormal investigator on the long-running show Ghost Adventures. It's been on since 2008. Here's where I'll throw to another expert, longtime viewer and first-time caller, Caitlin, aka my best friend and roommate from college.
In essence, Ghost Adventures is a show started by Zach Bagans, where he and his fellow investigators travel the world exploring all sorts of paranormal claims. They've done not only ghosts, but vampires, witches, aliens, skinwalkers, other like urban legends and paranormal activity. And they document any evidence they can find and see what, if anything, can be debunked or what is apparently real.
I actually hadn't heard of skinwalkers before. Actually, I'm just going to open a tab really quick on Wikipedia so I can read about this later when I'm bored or wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep. I'm going to give it to Caitlin, though. She did a pretty good job of explaining Ghost Adventures there. This show has a pretty big following. For instance, their Instagram has 717,000 followers. So they've got an established fan base. And that's why it's even more of a shock that Aaron Goodwin was caught up in an alleged murder for hire scheme. And prosecutors say his wife is the one to blame. Aaron and Victoria got married in August of 2022. And from the outside, it looks like a happy couple. I mean, in January of this very year, he posted a picture celebrating the anniversary of their first date. And then in February, just last month, he posted another picture of her, calling her his Valentine. But things were apparently a bit more rocky than social media led us to believe. Victoria actually says the couple was having some problems and she was lonely, so she started talking to someone new. People magazine reports that Victoria was watching the Paramount Plus docu-series called Control-Alt-Desire about the convicted killer, Grant Amato. She apparently liked what she saw, so she reached out to him, as one does. So Victoria and Grant start this relationship and begin messaging on a contraband cell phone Amato had in prison. That is until last fall. On October 3rd, 2024, corrections officers at the Okeechobee Correctional Institute seized a Motorola cellular phone number blocked out from inmate Grant Amato. Now, this is straight from the probable cause affidavit that notes Victoria Goodwin seemed to be planning a murder for hire plot. It all started when Grant Amato was found with this contraband cell phone. He's in prison right now for that triple homicide, so obviously investigators had to take a look through it. Analysts tagged a conversation between a female who goes by Victoria Candy and inmate Amato. Inmate Amato and Mrs. Candy discuss how much they are in love and how her husband, FH, so that means Aaron Goodwin, would not accept divorce. Mrs. Candy at one point states, "I'm so anxious, LOLOL. I just can't believe it's happening. Like, what the F? Like, how did I get to this point? Am I a bad person? Because I chose to end his existence, not divorce." In the messages, Victoria does ask, "Am I a bad person?" In which Amato told her she gave him his chances and told her she was not a bad person. He then asked why she thought she may be a bad person, and she replied, "Because I chose to end his existence, not divorce." According to the affidavit, Mrs. Candy, meaning Victoria, told Amato where her husband would be, a specific Best Western Plus in Barstow, California. It appears Victoria is providing Aaron's location, mentioning he was at the hotel per his Find My, which is a location sharing application. She also provided times he would be filming when going to the hotel and when smoking. Officials also say there was money exchanged in all this. Additionally, investigators found messages between Amato and Victoria discussing payments to PayPal, possible payments through Zelle, and Cash App. Amato asked Victoria for a $2,500 PayPal payment to an account and then another payment after receiving confirmation. It should be noted that your affiant has worked solicitation for murder cases previously, and half payment before and half after the murder is typical. As investigators are looking through all of this, they find another conversation between Amato and someone whose name has been blocked from the report. Inmate Amato also informs, name blocked, that he will distract the husband of Mrs. Candy with a phone call. Then he informs this named blocked, "He's asleep right now, in the hotel room. Brother, I need to know what is going on. Can I get an update? Was it done?" So eventually investigators are like, we have got to talk to Victoria, otherwise known as her alias, Mrs. Candy. Victoria was asked about her Facebook username, but she initially denied using Facebook. She was shown a text message from her asking if she should delete things from her messenger, and she claimed she may have been talking about other social media applications. Victoria was asked if she used the name Victoria Candy, and she stated she did previously, but has not used the name in years. At first, Victoria totally denied sending the messages, but later she admitted to it. She said the money wasn't for a hitman, though. It was allegedly just for cell phones. Victoria was eventually confronted about the text soliciting and conspiring to murder Aaron. She denied wanting her husband to be killed. She described herself of sometimes daydreaming of being in a different situation, but she no longer felt that way. She also stated she did not remember sending those particular messages. Victoria expressed her feelings of wanting to be without Aaron and with Amato to Amato, which she described as fantasies or daydreams. With all of these things put together, including payment plans, a location, anticipation, and nothing being done to stop this plan once it was in motion, Victoria was arrested on March 6th and charged with solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder. She since appeared in court just this week, and it was short and sweet.
Victoria Goodwin, 25 CR 020105.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Brown on behalf of Ms. Goodwin, who's present in custody. Good morning, Your Honor. Mr. Eric is safe.
Good morning.
Your Honor, this was set for preliminary hearing. Originally, she had invoked her right to preliminary hearing within 15 days. She's going to waive that right today. This was called off at our request, and we're just asking for a status check in 2 weeks.
All right. That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Goodwin, did you hear those representations put on the record by your attorney? Yes. And you're agreeing to continue this for 2 weeks for possible negotiations? All right. That 2-week date will be
April 8th at 8:30.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Meanwhile, after news of these allegations first broke, Aaron Goodwin filed for divorce. According to the court docs, the views, tastes, likes, and dislikes of husband and wife have become incompatible to the extent that it has become impossible for them to live together as husband and wife in marital harmony, that there is no possibility of reconciliation between husband and wife. Throughout his filing, Aaron Goodwin asked for divorce, but also alleged a couple of things. He alleged negligence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent infliction of emotional distress, assault, and false imprisonment. He's also recently broken his silence into all of this, posting on social media. Here's what he wrote on Instagram, quote, "Thank you everyone for all the love and support through this emotionally trying time. It has really helped a lot, and I appreciate you all." All right, I don't want to wait another second before we take a deeper dive into this because I have so many questions. So let's jump right to our guest. It's litigator Rich Schoenstein. Thank you for coming on Scandal with us, Rich. And I wanted to ask you from the start, have you ever heard of anything like this before? I mean, murder for hire we see sometimes, but the fact that we have a kind of celebrity, I mean, what's going on?
Well, I don't know. It's funny. Can I remember any murder for hire plots involving celebrities? Nothing springs to mind, but we hear it a lot where there's sort of a affluent person.
Okay, now they're going back into the murder for hire business. which is back into the court stuff. But I mean, it's just, I can't understand why she would deny saying that she wanted this. Okay, now, last one. And it says, ghost hunter's wife makes shocking move in redrum plot case. And it's from Law and Crime, and the link is in the description below. Big
Strange wife of Aaron Goodwin worked out a deal with prosecutors to drop one of her charges, but now it looks like she's avoiding trial altogether. I'm Elizabeth Milner with Law and Crime. Now remember how I said last week divorce is always an option, and take this case as a good example. Victoria Goodwin, all because she didn't think her husband would go for a divorce, allegedly plotted to kill him with an inmate down in Florida. So now she lost her husband, her life with him, and she's facing years in prison. If you're going off social media, Aaron Goodwin and his wife Victoria seem like such a loving couple. I mean, one look through her social media page, it's kissy photo here, a date adventure there, selfies at literally the happiest place on earth. You get the picture. But obviously we know with social media, not everything is how it appears. Because even after some of the pics were posted, the damage was already done. So if you've been following the case, you already know the gist. Back in March, detectives in Vegas got a call from another detective, this one from Florida DOC, in reference to a murder for hire plot. The Florida detective explained to the Vegas detective that on October 3rd, yes, Mean Girls Day, an inmate, and not just any inmate, an infamous one who murdered his family, had his cell phone seized. When they downloaded the contents of the phone, it was like a treasure trove of damning evidence, like text messages and Facebook messages planning a murder for hire. Now, had they not watched Law and Crime, why would they think that they wouldn't get caught when the messages were on text and Facebook? Anywho, we know those text messages were between Grant Amato and Victoria Goodwin. From what we've seen in court papers, Victoria, who by the way was going by Victoria Candy, was head over heels in love, just not with her husband, with Grant. And for Grant's part, he seemed ready to put their sinister murderous plan into motion. Miss Candy, as she's called in the document, even informed her alleged prison bae what hotel her husband was staying at, a photo of what he looks like and the car that he was driving. This as Grant Amato was in contact with an unnamed hitman who was supposed to take care of the situation. Oh, and there was money set aside and everything too. So authorities spoke to her, and she denied wanting her husband killed. So that we know. She was arrested and charged with solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Now both charges are still listed for her online. However, the solicitation charge is expected to be dropped at her upcoming arraignment. Why? Because she reportedly worked out a deal with prosecutors. Now, under the deal, Victoria will plead guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit murder. So now she'll face 2 to 10 years in prison. But here's the thing, prosecutors reportedly won't make a recommendation at sentencing. So who knows how long a sentence the judge will actually hand down to her. But what I'm personally interested to know is whether or not her husband, Aaron Goodwin, will make a victim impact statement at her sentencing. After his wife's arrest, and possibly after the shock of her plotting to kill him wore off, Aaron posted to Instagram thanking everyone for the support they've given him during this whole ordeal. He wrote, quote, "Thank you everyone for all the love and support through this emotionally trying time. It really helped a lot, and I appreciate you all," end quote. So Victoria was arrested on March 6th. By March 19th, Aaron filed.
I think my husband's hooking up his computer downstairs.
In the complaint, Aaron is asking that neither party be awarded alimony from the other. Their assets will be separated, and what's Aaron's is Aaron's, and vice versa. But also, he's suing her for negligence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent infliction of emotional distress, assault, and false imprisonment. Oh, and that he be awarded $10,000 in punitive damages. In the complaint, it states, quote, "The views, tastes, likes, and dislikes of husband and wife have become incompatible to the extent that it has become impossible for them to live together as husband and wife in marital harmony, that there is no possibility of reconciliation between husband and wife." Understandably harsh, but I get not wanting to reconcile when there was a whole murder plot underway. It's unclear where the divorce process stands right now, but Victoria might have more things to worry about, like what the judge has to say after she pleads guilty. Well, I have a great guest joining me to break this down even further, and that's Vegas-based criminal defense attorney Michael Troiano. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. This case since the start has been nothing short of just wild. Thankfully, Aaron Goodwin is okay, but what's your reaction to this murder for hire plot that was concocted by his wife and convicted killer Grant Amato?
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about ghost hunters prior to hearing about this case, but ironically, not even a month ago, I stayed in a supposed haunted hotel up in northern Nevada over the evening when I was doing a case out there in outlying jurisdiction, and come to find out, ghost hunters filmed at this specific location. So it's certainly got its Hollywood or Nevada appeal, and the underlying charges, obviously life or death.
And we thought this case might go to trial. Instead, Victoria Goodwin is supposed to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, but prosecutors have also agreed to drop the solicitation charge. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did get an opportunity to review the guilty plea agreement that she signed and was executed by her and attorney, and it seems like the plea terms are fairly straightforward. They will dismiss the other count, as you mentioned. She will be pleading guilty to one category B as in boy felony, to conspiracy to commit murder. The penalty range is 2 to 10 years in prison, potential, and the prosecution has agreed to remain silent, meaning they will not make a recommendation at the sentencing.
And what does that mean in terms of them kind of choosing to stay silent? Does that mean that they kind of give the leeway to the judge? Could the judge even possibly go for more time beyond those 10 years?
So the judge cannot go beyond that time. They are in Nevada, they're prohibited from what we call an illegal sentence. So they have to sentence him within those 2 to 10 year frames. And to get a little bit more technical for the viewers, in Nevada, the bottom number of your sentence cannot exceed 40% of the top. So we'll make math a little bit easier. If this was a 1 to 10, then a maximum sentence here in Nevada would be 4 to 10 years. This is a 2 to 10, so the math's a little bit skewed. With that being said, as far as no recommendation, that is something that defense attorneys generally try to get. And the best, obviously, is no opposition or a stipulation of probation. But on the other hand, when you have facts that can be sort of nasty, if you will, and the defense attorney can't get on his or her soapbox, you would much prefer the prosecution not to stand in court and pound that away. But in reality, the judge still gets what we call a pre-sentence investigation report. So they're going to get all the facts of the case. And in a case like this, I would imagine the victim always will have the opportunity by statute. It's what we call Marcy's Law here, to come to the trial or any proceedings, but particularly, the sentencing, he will be able to be present and make that argument that the prosecutor would and talk about the impact. So it's better than the prosecutor arguing, but in most cases, it doesn't make a significant difference, especially if you have a very involved victim, as we do in this case.
And I'm surprised that the prosecution kind of agreed to dropping the solicitation charge, especially since money was put aside to carry out this murder plot. Are you surprised that they agreed to drop it? And why do you think that they agreed to drop the solicitation charge specifically?
Well, at the end of the day, the criminal justice system would just go to a complete halt if every single case was prosecuted from arraignment to trial. Clark County is very busy here. We're the biggest and most populous county in the state of Nevada. That office has over 100 plus lawyers that are excellent at their job, but sometimes the facts are the facts. And it looks like there was text messages. You had the supposed pen pal jail lover that she was trying to get to solicit to the murder, who was absolutely providing and reached out to police so he could probably get him some better deal in his case in Florida. And I think that the prosecution, as well as the defense attorney, let the messages speak for themselves, and the client probably finally had a clear head that her supposed fantasies or daydreaming, as she said to the police in her interview, got a little bit too far. And instead of trying to drag this out for years on end and all the legal consequences and financial consequences that go along with that, was provided an opportunity to take an exit, if you will, and take a negotiation that her and her counsel deemed fair. So I would say that it makes a lot of sense based upon the facts of this case, and she was caught with her own messages soliciting that murder.
And as a criminal defense attorney, what's your thoughts on just the whole murder for hire plot and aspect, because for the most part, to me, as just, someone who watches or sees these types of cases every single day, mainly for work, my thought always goes to divorce is always an option. Divorce is easier. Yeah, it may impact your wallet just a little bit, but impacting your wallet versus spending years in prison, I would take the wallet situation. But in terms of just overall, why do you think that defendants always just think that they, one, won't get caught doing a murder for hire, or two, that, there's always other options? Just leave.
Right. But here's the thing, right? You're talking from an unattached, unemotional, sober mind frame. And you're talking objectively, right? When we're all in our own relationships, as much as we all believe that we're great human beings, we have faults, we have issues. And when you're able to kind of take a step back, and whether it's from a psychiatrist or a counselor or a criminal defense attorney, and say, hey, listen, I know there's more to the story. I don't know the entirety of your relationship, but things have gotten a little too serious. And that's where it really comes from, right? I have plenty of clients that have been charged wrongfully and are innocent, but I also have plenty of clients that were wrapped up in some sort of issue that alcohol, drugs, and mental health definitely exacerbated their rational thinking. And as you said, a divorce can be costly emotionally as well as financially, but you get to exit.
So, what do you think? Do you think that she should get the full 10 years behind bars, or do you think that she should get a lesser sentence? I don't know. Personally, I think because there's so many people who know Aaron Goodwin, I think they're going to have a hard time finding a jury that would be unbiased. So I think she should have the full 10 years. I really do. But that's just because I do happen to like Aaron Goodwin as an actor on television, on YouTube, on whatever channel Ghost Adventures is on. I don't watch Ghost Adventures anymore because I found out that Zach Bagans made everything fake. But I do like watching the show, but I found other paranormal shows that I like watching, like Paranormal Quest and Paranormal Files and Conspiracy Files. Monday nights on YouTube is Paranormal Files. Conspiracy Files, he pops up during the week at different times, depending on how long it takes him to get the story together. And Paranormal Quest, they do one every... I think they put one out today, so I think they do them on Fridays. So, yeah. Okay, well, the temperature's starting to drop, so I'm going to go close up my house. It's been nice having the windows and doors open today. So I'm going to go close up my house because it's getting cool in here. And I want to thank y'all for being here. Please leave a comment down, in, even if it's after, if you're watching the replay. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Should Victoria Goodwin get 10 years or should she get 2 years for wanting to pay to redrum her husband? What do you think? All right. Do something nice for someone, even if it's just be the reason that they smiled today, and get lockered.